Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
It's very critical, very, very critical that we go out and we bring in a great group of players, but also a great group of people. And that's what I'm more proud of than anything is the type of people that these guys are.
I think we had another excellent recruiting class. I really do. I think it was good. I think a good bunch. I think they'll prove to be a little better than maybe all the rankings.
Yeah. Has any coach ever said our recruiting class stinks? We did a terrible job. I don't know a football from a tennis ball. No, you never hear that. They all feel good, and they should. I mean, this is a time of renewal. This is a time for optimism. Forget the rankings. Forget the decommitments. Forget all the shiny pieces the rivals signed if you're South Carolina. Forget it. Think about the future and the fact that you got to feel like your coaches address needs. Your coaches got some good players. It's not the most sparkling of classes for South Carolina in terms of the shiny parts. Clemson side, a very shiny class. A lot of star power in that class. They deserve the high ranking that the class is getting if you're caught up in rankings. South Carolina's class is not going to be ranked all that poorly. Turned out better than a lot of people thought it would after the Gamecocks went through the decommitments. So, you know what? It is a time for optimism. It's a time to be upbeat. It's a time to get ready for spring ball and move on from today's National Signing Day activities. And we'll do that after 2 more hours are up. Phil Kornbluth, Professor Tom Hayes. K-Mac is the only one who actually believes that National Signing Day is a holiday. So he gets the hell out of Dodge whenever we have our National Signing Day.
Defected as far as that's concerned.
And not only do we have recruiting to talk about from South Carolina, you probably know by now that John Hoke is coming on board at South Carolina. Will be announced tomorrow after the Board of Trustees meets to approve his contract. Spurrier would not talk about it today, but it's been widely reported, and Josh Kendall of the State confirming it as well with some details that we'll share with you too. But right now, to get things rolling tonight, heavy dose of coverage. Signing Day.
Wow.
Going to hear from Dabo Sweeney coming up. Going to hear from Steve Spurrier coming up and more. We'll talk about the other schools around the state and their signing classes as well. To sum it up for you, as far as USC Clemson are concerned, no surprises today. Everything worked out as planned. All the players who were committed going into today signed. Ray McLeod, the first to sign with Clemson. So any concerns that there might have been turned out to be for naught. He's in. Kane's in. Everybody's in as expected. South Carolina did pick up Rashad Fenton this morning to add to their class. All the other committed players signed. And both coaches feel like they and their staffs did a good job putting the classes together. No sense me about it. We'll let the coaches tell you about it. Dabo Sweeney up first, coming up next. Of course, Clemson's had another big day recruiting with 2016 commitments. Cornell Powell, wide receiver from North Carolina. And just a few moments ago, Feaster from Spartanburg, the running back, made his commitment to Clemson. And also today, the linebacker from Georgia made his commitment to Clemson as well. And so the Tigers have picked up 3 more for 2016. We'll talk about that coming up just a little bit as well. But let's talk about 2015 as Dabo Swinney put the wraps on a very highly regarded class, ranked as high as number 3. And here is Dabo reflecting on the hard work he and his staff put in and the new Tigers on board today.
Very, very critical that we go out and we bring in a great group of players, but also a great group of people. And that's what I'm more proud of than anything is the type of people that these guys are. And what I know is coming in the door because I know what just went out the door. And when you lose good people, you better replace them with good people. And I think that we were able to do that with this group. We had 15 mid-years, which is unheard of for us. And we had 11 signees today. So 26 total guys. One of them will be a gray shirt for us. And you know, the thing that jumps out at me more than anything about this group is 22 of the 26 were committed back in the summer and all signed with us. So a couple of those guys kind of made decisions later, but 22 of the 26 were on board from really a long time ago. I think that when you look at our class and when you look at the objective that we had going into this class, and it's always different. I mean, it's never the same. You know, last year, defensive line wasn't a big priority for us. This year, obviously, it was a huge priority for us. And again, filling that need, not just with guys, but with the right guys, I think we knocked it out of the park. Same thing in the offensive line, but just really excited about how we went about it and how we filled all the needs. Plus we got a few preferred walk-on guys that'll be joining this group this summer. Guys that will have a chance to play at Clemson. Guys that had opportunities to go to some smaller levels but want to take a chance to play at this level. So we're excited about the whole group here that'll be, you know, all on board by this summer. But you know, we got a talented team returning. You know, we got a good football team coming back. You know, some really experienced players that have had a lot of success. And I think with the addition of this class, it'll give us the competitive depth that we really need to kind of continue to take our program to another level. You have to have that year in and year out. And I think this group brings that to the table. The 15 mid-years in the spring is huge for us because, you know, if you look at college football, spring practice is a big part of the overall development of your football team, but very rarely, if ever, do you have the majority of your team out for spring practice. You know, most of the time you're waiting on all your signees to come in the summer, but for us, the majority of our class is here. So to have those guys on campus, to have them going through the off season, going through the installation process as far as learning our offense and defense and participating in spring ball, playing a game in the spring game, all those things are huge. You know, as far as getting off to a good start and plugging some voids that we have, because some of these guys are going to have to help us. As far as the breakdown of the class, we signed 10 on offense and 16 on defense. We had 4 offensive linemen, 1 tight end, 2 quarterbacks, and 3 wideouts. Defensively, 7 defensive linemen, 5 DB, 4 linebackers. As far as where they came from, we have 10 from the state of South Carolina, 5 from Florida, 4 from Georgia, 4 from North Carolina, 2 from Virginia, and 1 from Connecticut or Massachusetts, depending on what you want to say, because he goes to school and lives at his school, Christian Wilkins, up in Suffield Academy in Connecticut, but he lives just a few miles down the road across the state line in Massachusetts. So really, you know, interesting dynamic there. But I'm very thankful, very appreciative of tremendous effort by our coaches, tremendous effort by our team, our players. Those guys do an awesome job in promoting, our program and our brand and helping us to recruit the best of the best. The best is the standard here, and these guys that are on this team, not only do they want to be the best, but they want to help bring the best in here. And I love to watch that dynamic each and every year as it takes place. But also, I want to thank our support staff. We have an awesome support staff here. It's just incredible the amount of work that people put into helping us have the success like we had today. It doesn't just happen in a day. It never stops, to be honest with you. It just continues on and on and on. And our support staff and our wives and our administration, just incredible. President Clements, unbelievable. The effort that he put forth in assisting us, with the recruiting process. Always willing to meet with a parent or talk to a recruit, and he's passionate about it. I mean, it just is. It's a special dynamic that we have here with our leadership from the top down. I just am happy to be a part of it, and it's a lot of fun to celebrate a day like today with everyone. Also want to give a shout out to Jeff Scott. Jeff Scott's been a great recruiting coordinator for us for the last several years, obviously moving into the coordinator role offensively, and he's off to a good start there too. So he's done great at anything and everything I've ever asked him to do, above and beyond. That's why this was, one of the easiest decisions that, I've made a lot of decisions, but, hiring he and Tony to head up our offense was probably one of these decisions I've had to make since I became head coach. Brandon Streeter will be our on-the-field coach moving forward as far as that liaison between our recruiting department and the full-time coaches. But I really appreciate Jeff. And then let me just tell you, Thad Turnipseed has done a fantastic job in helping us, build, what my vision for our program was, as far as taking our recruiting to another level. We were a little behind, I thought, as far as just our efficiency. And bringing Thad on board and kind of creating Clemson Google, if you will. That's what I call it, Clemson Google. Has been fun to watch. A year or so now later, Thad has got a great grasp of who we are and, helping us, build the brand like we all want it to be. And then, Brad Scott, it does – I can't state it enough. What a great job he does in supporting the coaches. Because Brad, he's a huge part of, these guys getting here and the eligibility process, clearinghouse, all that stuff, and then he's in charge of the freshmen. From the time until they become sophomores. And so his relationship that he has with each and every one of these guys and their families is a big asset for us. And Woody McCorvey and Jeff Davis and all those guys. Just a tremendous team effort, by our staff. So I really appreciate them. And for us now, we're going to take a short break as far as just, guys getting a few days out of the office here to hug their wives and just, kind of catch their breath and hope to come back in here next week, just full of energy and ready to go back to work and get started on this 2015 team and our 2016 class. It never stops. And, we're already off to a great start with our 2016 class. And, I'm excited about this time next year, signing another great group and just, again, happy to be a part of it. So, football-wise, as we get back, our staff, we're really right in the middle of going through all of our quality control stuff, really self-evaluating everything from the season A to Z. That's a huge part of what we've got to get done over the next few weeks and getting ready for spring practice. Our all-in program will start with our players here in the next week or so. Really looking forward to getting going with those guys.
Okay, Dabo Swinney from his press conference. More from Dabo available on the website, sportstalksc.com. And thanks to the thousands of you that hit it up throughout the day. Back in a moment. All right, Steve Spurrier coming up. And Spurrier will meet with the media again tomorrow about John Hoke. According to Josh Kendall from the state, USC Board of Trustees will meet via conference call at 3 tomorrow to discuss an athletic department contract. The school announced that. And two sources with knowledge of the contract confirmed to the state that Hoke's agreement will be discussed and is expected to be approved during that call. ESPN.com also reported Hoke's imminent hiring. Spurrier, as you'll hear, declined to comment about it. Hoke is set to make around $700,000, according to Kendall's source. Current defensive coordinator Lorenzo Ward makes $750,000. Now Spurrier has said that he could add a coach. He's not getting rid of any coaches as far as being in the program. NCAA rules allow only 9 on the field. You know that, meaning somebody will have to take another position within the program or inside the administration or be fired should Hoke or anybody else be hired. Spurrier is expected to meet with the current staff tomorrow morning to discuss the situation, according to a source talking to Kendall. And he was effusive in his praise of his staff. You'll hear that coming up. And Hoke is the brother of former Michigan head coach Brady Hoke. He was Spurrier's DC at Florida, 91 to 2001. When Spurrier left for the Redskins, Hoke joined the Houston Texans staff as secondary coach. He joined the Bears in 2009, remained in Chicago until this season when he was not retained. Former defensive back at Ball State. And the secondary is his forte on the field. Coaching, I believe, is the secondary.
Yeah, it's interesting. If the Board of Trustees meeting, I want to surmise that this is a 4 or 5 year deal. I want to think. Wouldn't you think it was less than that? I mean, why do you have to wait for the board? It seems like this is a multi-year deal. I would think.
Is it not a rule at USC that if a contract is greater than $5 million, the board has to meet and sign off on it? So you heard, you heard what Josh is writing here, $700,000 a year. And so they would have to meet about that.
Here's the other question. If I'm not mistaken, Hoke and Lorenzo Ward think they're most effective down on the field. So who goes up in the box and who stays down on the field? I guess that's something that has to be decided.
Whatever Spurrier assigns as far as titles and responsibilities, somebody's going to have to suck it up. And, really, if you're going to win, you got to check your egos at the door.
Oh, certainly.
And, I think Lorenzo Ward still likes it in Columbia. He makes a lot of money. He's got a multi-year contract too. And I think he will be a team. If it comes to that, I think he'll be a team player.
Well, I wasn't talking about whether he gets demoted. I'm talking about effectiveness as far as coaching. Because both, I think, if I'm not mistaken, remembering Hoke, both of them like to be down on the field.
Well, Hoke's a little bit older now. I'm thinking if that's the arrangement, my guess is he'll be upstairs.
Oh, okay.
So he has his eyes on everything, and then Ward will be on the sideline so he can be right with the players and talk directly to them. Spurrier coming up in a moment.
It was good. I think a good bunch. I think they'll prove.
All right, let's get to the Gamecock side of things. They've got 31 newcomers coming in. As I said, no surprises. They added the one commitment this morning in Rashad Fenton, cornerback from down in Miami, who looks like a pretty good player. I know losing Arnett wasn't good, but this isn't all that bad. Here is Steve Spurrier Jr., as they talk about the class and take questions earlier today.
It was good. I think a good bunch. I think they'll prove to be a little better than maybe all the rankings. As you know, those rankings, the 3 stars, the 4 stars, and the 5 stars, just left up there on television. And J.J. Watt, the NFL most valuable player, he was a 3-star coming out of high school. He went to what, Wisconsin, I think? Yeah. Anyway, they were saying he was a 3-star, best player in the NFL last year on defense. But anyway, good bunch of guys, especially these defensive linemen. Everybody knows that we had trouble rushing the passer last year. And Marquavius Lewis, I think he was a 5-star. Obviously, Devontae Covington, Shameik Blackshear, Dante Sawyer, Boozy Whitlow, Quandesky, it's listed as his, he goes by Boozy, and of course Dexter Wideman may end up being an inside rusher. But obviously we needed some help defensively, and we believe we've done that. And on offense, we signed a lot of good players, very much also 5 big offensive linemen. Fired up by our quarterback, Lorenzo Nunez, a kid that can run and pass. College game is really going to quarterbacks that can run, and this young man's pretty good at that. So overall, we think it's a good group, and as you can see, there's about 32 players listed, so it's a little over a third of our team. So we should be a different team next year. Hopefully we can put a defense out there that our fans will really be proud of and really get fired up about. Our coaches did an excellent job of hustling around. All of our assistant coaches are good recruiters and bust their tail. And I think the reason we've got so many good, solid players here is our assistant coaches did a super job.
Do you think at all some of the off-season drama that was being played out publicly on Lorenzo Ward's status as defensive coordinator and perhaps the 2 to 3 year remark changing to 4 or 5 years, you staying, had any impact on this year's recruiting class in a negative way?
No, I don't think it had a negative way at all. I think these were the guys pretty much we started with a few more. We lost a few along the way, as a lot of schools do. These kids change their mind all the time now. A lot of these kids committed when we were number 4 in the nation. We didn't end up number 4 in the nation, but we did end up with a winning record and won a bowl game. So the year we had could have been a lot worse. So it turned out to be decent. So now we got a lot of good players here. You can always make excuses about whatever could happen why a guy goes somewhere or the other. He didn't want to come here. If a player said this, that, or the other, then he just didn't want to come here, really.
For either of you, kind of talked about this, but do you consider this kind of a needs-filled class that you really went after and focused on certain areas?
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit, especially on the defensive side. Obviously, we needed some help there, and I believe we have. I believe we got some aggressive, fast players really going to help us.
Mm-hmm. I think you have the most junior college players since maybe 2009. Was that based on people who could play right away, or was it because of the people who changed their commitments, or a little bit of both?
No, just people who play right away. And a lot of these guys we knew about earlier, some of them, like Quay Lewis. Obviously, we knew about him for quite a while. And a lot of schools recruit to junior colleges, yeah. And then Dante Sawyer signed with us earlier. Dexter Weidman had signed with us, and now they're qualified and ready to come.
Question for Steve Jr.
Yeah.
You signed 4 wide receivers, 3 wide receivers you redshirted. That means 7 receivers are going to be either redshirt or freshman this fall with all the players that have departed, including Shaq and KJ Brown. You guys can be pretty young at wide receiver. It looks like you're going to be pretty busy this spring and then in the fall.
No, we met the other day with a few of them, and you get 2 hours a week to start meeting with them. So we'll meet tomorrow. And, it'll be a full spring before spring ball meeting. But yeah, 7 guys that haven't played, and I think there's some good players in that group though. So it'll be an important spring for all those guys, and we'll get 3, 4, 5 guys ready to go play.
Coach Junior, there were 9 decommitments in the class. Is there any way to explain that? Was there one kind of overriding theme?
Well, the biggest reason for that many is just the large number. I mean, we set out to recruit a bunch of guys. So anytime you have 31 commitments, I mean, 2 years ago when we signed, 20, it was a lot less. So anytime you start with a huge number, there's a possibility for that. But the other thing I said before is when you recruit a bunch of really good players and everybody's still recruiting them, sometimes that happens. When we first got here, when we didn't have a lot of other teams recruiting guys committed to us. So that's certainly changed around here. But we got to do the best we can. You got to keep fighting with all of them. And again, at the end of the day, the class you sign are the guys that are supposed to be there. And, the offensive line especially, we've replaced them with some excellent players. Give Coach Elliott a hand for hustling around and finding 5 really good linemen and feel really good about that class. So some come and some go, but at the end of the day, you got to put together the best group you can.
Coach, you talked about how excited you were to have Lorenzo Nunez as part of the incoming class here. Can you just talk about the quarterback situation here at South Carolina with the departure of Dylan Thompson now and how you see it playing out in spring ball and just at that position, your excitement level for it?
Okay, we got 3 quarterbacks here. Perry Orth, Connor Mitch, Michael Scarnecchia, and Pharaoh Cooper could play quarterback. Terry Guger could jump in there if we had to. Lorenzo Nunez will come over probably and watch a bunch of practices on weekends. But the 3 guys that are here now, they'll battle it out to see which one's the best of them. And then probably in preseason next year, we'll keep battling it out and see what we got for the first game. As we all know, Dylan went the distance this year. He played just about every play the whole season. So we're pretty fortunate he stayed healthy, I think. But these guys may surprise you. They're working hard. I see them on their own in the weight room, jumping rope and out on the field. When I walk by, there's a bunch of them out there throwing the ball around, seems like. So we really got a group of players with wonderful attitude, and they're fired up about next season.
Coach, staying with that a little, with so many new players, is this spring as important of a spring as y'all have had in a while?
Oh, I think it's important that we sort of learn how to play football a little bit more like we used to play around here, as far as full speed, effort, passion, intensity, tackle, block, tackle. We've got to go at each other a little bit more than we had in the past. That was obvious. So I don't think I did a very good job of maybe going full speed as much as we needed, as it turned out through the course of the year. We got to practice faster and more physical through the spring.
This is for Junior. Can you just go back to the decommitting and the process of the ups and downs of that?
We spend a lot of time trying to talk about the committee. Let's talk
Yeah.
about our group, who our guys are. You know,
Let me
this
give
is
you an
our
example.
day.
One
It's our
kid,
day.
one visited with his dad. His parents are divorced. He's from the state of Washington. He had a big time here and committed. Okay, he goes back to Washington. He said, you know what, I better stay home here. So, you know, we can't worry about that. You know, a lot of these guys were from far away that, you know, they had a good visit and then you know, but that's life. You know, that's life. We picked up some guys that may be better players. Who knows? You know, one leaves, one comes. It happens everywhere.
Yeah, picked up some guys committed to other schools. So, yeah, that certainly happens a lot. But at the end of the day, this is our class. We're happy about them and
exactly.
Look forward to start coaching.
Exactly.
Spurrier and Spurrier talking about the USC class. He did not want to talk about John Hoke. Interesting, though, what he said. And I'm sure the coaches this year are like, well, now you're saying it, but admitting that they didn't maybe practice hard enough, practice physical enough, didn't practice aggressively enough, et cetera, et cetera. Now, you know, after the fact of going 7-6, that all sounds well and good. And we'll see if Spurrier applies that to the approach to this spring. Okay, we're going to try and talk to some recruits in the next hour. Lorenzo Nunez scheduled to join us, bottom of the next hour. Also going to try and catch up with Tavian Feaster after he has committed to Clemson. Again, Clemson getting 3 junior commitments. Tavian Feaster, the running back from Spartanburg. Jamie Skowski, the linebacker from Georgia, from Noonan, Georgia. Cornell Powell, wide receiver from Greenville, North Carolina. So Clemson has, well, it depends on how you want to count it. They've got 8. Well, they've got 7 commitments for 2016. But with Amir Trapp as a gray shirt, I would count him in my bookkeeping in that class, which would be 8. Now, they may count him. He enrolls in January. He may be able to count back. We'll wait and see. But that would be 8. And, looking ahead to next recruiting season, which is here now for Clemson, yes, we must. See, the Tigers only have 13 seniors for next year's team.
But you would imagine there may be still some attrition.
Well, there'll be some juniors who might leave early. Who in the let's see, Shaq Lawson will be a junior. You got to feel like he'll go after next season.
Did I leave Clemson?
Well, I mean, not always, but sometimes. Yeah. I would say as far as the talent goes, the players in the junior class who might think about leaving early based on how good they are and how highly touted they are, Shaq Lawson, Jaron Curse, probably those 2. Maybe Mike Williams if he has a big year. But they only got 13 seniors by my count, only 13 seniors. So right now, Clemson, let's see, they ended up with they signed 26 if you count Trapp. They had 59. That puts them right on 85.
Well,
26 and 59 is 85. So they're right on the 85.
I will tell you this.
They're halfway. What I'm getting at is
halfway.
They're pretty much halfway to filling their number for next recruiting period.
And they're halfway of letting the enemy know who they're recruiting against.
But they don't. Yeah, but the Clemson doesn't worry about that because they don't really lose players to decommitments.
Usually.
Who they lost? I mean, they lost one this year, Briscoe, but I mean, they would tell you that was as much on their side as it was his side. Yeah, Kim Deechey, but Kim Deechey was he was Arden Key a couple of years ago. I mean, Kim Deechey was just nutty.
Well, what I'm saying is now,
and has he dominated the SEC yet? Wake me when he dominates the SEC.
He won't not at this position. But I will say this: Clemson and South Carolina, to me, what impresses me is the defensive line classes, because I always look at football and what's the most difficult players to get outside of quarterback is defensive tackles, ends, and corners. I mean, it's just very difficult. And you remember how tough it was for South Carolina for years getting defensive tackles. And so I think both have done tremendously well in as far as the defensive lines are concerned.
Robert Kim Deechey this year, in case you're wondering, 35 tackles in 13 games, 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. Not exactly dominating, as you would expect in his second year. Highly touted, highly nice, 7-star
but you look at the Ole Miss sacks. What was he doing? Oh, he dominated 2 or 3 blockers at a time.
Yeah, could have been clowned.
There you go.
Could have been
That's
clowned.
the point.
Now, we're going to touch on the other classes around the state, especially when it comes to the in-state signees for those classes. So let's jump into that. For Coastal Carolina, the in-state signees for the Chanticleers: Michael Billings, defensive back from Georgetown; Austin Bradley, quarterback from Orangeburg Wilkinson; Landon Jones, offensive lineman from Conway; Maxwell Cota, tight end from Myrtle Beach; Adam Lawhorn, offensive lineman from Blacksburg; Jamarian McBride, offensive lineman from Simpsonville, Hillcrest of Simpsonville, which you really don't have to say that anymore, Hillcrest; Evan Rabin, punter and place kicker from South Florence; Taekwon Ross, defensive lineman, Great Falls; and Miles White, defensive lineman from Fort Dorchester. The Chanticleers went after more in-state players this year than I can recall them since Joe Moglia took over. You know, at first it looked like they weren't going to recruit the state of South Carolina all that much, but certainly did with this class.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go, in-state signees for Coastal. We'll do it on down the list of the other schools as we move through the rest of the show. We've got some guests coming up in the next hour as well. Don't forget, if you lose us over the airwaves, you can stick with us on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, audio feed, top of the page, video feed, bottom of the page. I'm the good-looking guy sitting right in front of the camera, in case you're wondering. That's the pro's profile that you always see. All right, let's take a look at Newberry's class. In-state players, mostly made up of in-state players, as always. Wide receiver Michael Amon from AC Flora. Offensive lineman Austin Anderson from Wren. Offensive lineman Tyler Anderson from Wren. Athlete Austin Barnes from Daniel. Defensive back Jordan Carr from Lexington. Linebacker Marcus Chestnut, Myrtle Beach. Offensive defensive lineman Wyatt Craig, Timberland. Offensive defensive lineman Teron Dixon, Columbia High. Defensive back Balin English, Sherrod. Linebacker Peyton Height from 96. Defensive lineman Devontae Horn of Gaffney. Offensive lineman Raekwon Hines of Garrett Tech in North Charleston. Quarterback Nick Jones, South Florence. Defensive lineman Tyler Lindsay, Boiling Springs. Defensive lineman Taquan Lyles of Greer. Linebacker Mac McCurry from Somerville. Wide receiver Noah Price, Daniel. Linebacker Caleb Pruitt, Landrum. Receiver Tristan Register, Gilbert. Offensive lineman Dylan Ritchie, Westside. Punter, kicker Shea Rogers, Indianland. Quarterback Tommy Sanders, Chester. Linebacker Terrell Smith of Camden. Receiver Bobby Stroman, Baseburg, Leesville. Athlete Trip Ward, Williamsburg Academy. Offensive lineman Trevin Watts, Lancaster. Defensive back Roderick Williams from Loris. Receiver DJ Wilson from Camden. And outside linebacker Trey Woods from Marlboro County. All right, quickly to the phones. We go to Cockett here in Columbia. Cockett, what's up?
What's up, man? How y'all doing?
What's up, Cockett? What's up?
How you doing, man?
What's up, Cockett? What's up? What's up?
I'm doing all right, man. Just sitting here, just listening to recruiting.
What's up?
And my own thing is this right here. I'm looking at. I like what Steve Spurrier just said. He's gonna be a little bit more aggressive. Maybe I might go to see the spring game since he talking about being a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more physical than he normally usually don't do. During the spring game. So I might check that out. I'm very impressed with the quarterback. I hope that he get a chance to stop it. I like that. Like those defensive linemen, and also I like the way he recruited on that offensive lineman. So it's a lot of good promising that I see in the near future for the Gamecocks. Very excited. Never thought that Steve Spurrier would at least get off his hands and make something happen in recruiting. So just want to get you guys' opinion. What would you see us 2015 class? Will you be rated in the top 20?
Yeah, I think the class is going to have some top 20 identity when it's all figured out. And I think I saw 247's composite ranking had South Carolina at number 19. So, that's typically about where South Carolina falls in recruiting, between 15 and 25. I mean, they don't sweat it out that much, to be quite honest with you. And I think they got some players in this class that are going to be winners for them.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
We're back at Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network here on National Signing Night 2015. How much of the coverage did you watch across the various TV outlets? Does Fox do anything like ESPN does? Do any of the Fox outlets?
I think they
Sports
do.
South or anything? Do they?
No, not wall to wall like ESPN.
I mean, I admit to being glued into ESPNU from 7 a.m. until I left the house to go do Spurrier at 3:30.
I have a feeling, but you were listening to it with a jaundiced eye, looking for weaponry to attack.
I'm trying to come to terms with the fact that ESPN owns everything, or at least they think they own everything, and they think they own every concept in sports. Anything having to do with sports, they feel like is their domain. And to hear them talk about their ESPN 300 and all their recruiting people working behind the scenes, and I'm thinking, this is really not complex. Recruiting is really not a complex effort. I mean, it's really simple. It's become complex. We've allowed it to become complex. I mean, think about it. I just don't understand that, there is no need. Why is there a need for these camps, for these kids to go to be watched by these analysts for the recruiting networks, to be assigned a grade? They don't need that. That's what I don't understand. And they have to pay money to go to those things, except for their ego. I mean, for their ego, they're ego driven, and they want to, in this day and age, these kids want to be written about. They want to see their pictures on the websites. They want to have as many stars as possible by their names. That's the culture of sports they're being brought up in today. But I mean, you don't really need that. College coaches will find you. They, if you're a good player, they will find you and they will recruit you. But unfortunately, it's being driven into their heads that you have to go this route. You have to go pay your $75 and come to this camp and let us evaluate you and decide whether or not you're a good player, and get our blessings. And really, it's a double-edged sword because they might slap a 2-star or 3-star label on you, and that sticks with you the rest of your life. It's like a scar. It's not. And it's a shame because, again, it really gets under my skin when I see the media, read the media, hear the media refer to a player as a this star or that star, even when he's a senior in college, and let's say he's a starter for this big-time program, where he was only a 3-star coming out of high school. I mean, that's just bull crap. That's just absolute bull crap. What does it mean?
That's just like a C student who wakes up, gets mature, and they go to college. Wait a minute, this guy's Phi Beta Kappa. What happened? Well, no, you had him labeled and didn't know what his potential was.
You're exactly right. I mean, that happens a lot in real life.
Exactly.
All right, we'll come back, give you more signees from around the state, take more calls, and going to talk to some recruits coming up. By the way, Clemson's playing Florida State tonight, 9 o'clock. We should mention that. Basketball always gets lost, at least with me, this time of the year. That game is going to be televised on the ACC Regional Network, so good luck finding that. 13-8, the Tigers, 5-4 in the league. 12-10, the Seminoles, 4-5 in the league. And one of Clemson's losses came at home to the Seminoles back January 19th, 59-55.
Congratulations to Cliff Ellis. Don't forget about that.
Cliff Ellis, 150 wins at 4 different schools. All right, we'll get calls again in a moment. I want to do my due diligence, though, on football recruiting. Let's see here. Charleston Southern's signing class, in-state guys, receiver Cameron Brown from Midland Valley. From Hanahan, defensive lineman Jacob Garibay. From Chapin, offensive lineman Stephen Haralambus. From Central, tight end Trevay Hatton. From Swansea, linebacker Craig Johnson. From Marlboro County, quarterback London Johnson. From South Florence, offensive lineman Zach Evans. He's actually an early enrollee. And the transfer from USC, defensive end Gerald Turner. And Furman does not have any in-state recruits in its class this year. So taking a look at a few that jump out at me, offensive lineman Chris Breedlove out of Dothan, Alabama, is 266 pounds. Defensive back Jacques Evangelister from Auburn, Georgia. A couple of other offensive linemen, Andy Godwin, Neptune Beach, Florida. Offensive lineman Evan Horst from Loveland, Ohio. No quarterback in the class for Furman. They have a couple of young quarterbacks. So they really went after offensive linemen. I see a few running backs in here as well, but nobody from South Carolina. Presbyterian, in-state signees, wide receiver Manny Banks from Irmo. Wide receiver Deshaun Davis from Chapman. Tight end Zola Davis from Wando. Yes, he's the son of the former Gamecock, Zola Davis. Hard to believe that Zola Davis has a kid now ready to go to college, but he does. From James Island, offensive lineman Ryan Green. From Westside, quarterback Cal King. He's the grandson of Keith Richardson, so he's got good football genes in him. From Walhalla, kicker Brett Norton. That's it. That's the last of the South Carolina guys. They signed a quarterback as well, Hinton McConkey from Chatsworth, Georgia, along with Cal King from Westside. All right, we'll do more in a little bit. Let's get back to the phones. And it's Dave in Columbia with us next here on Sports Talk. Been listening to The Point, I certainly hope. Hey, Dave, how are you?
Philip, how are you doing?
Dave. Good to hear from you.
I have finally found you, buddy.
Well, we're glad to be back together. What took you so long?
Well, I was they've been firing commentators left and right on that station, so I had to branch out to find some internet
there you go.
Resources.
There you go. Good to have you back with us, my man. Good to have you back with us.
Yeah. It is great to be back, and your timing is impeccable. I tell you, you were on the statewide show while Carolina was having their heyday in their run, and you bowed out just in time as Clemson started theirs. And I'll tell you what, this is the best recruiting class I have ever seen.
Well, now, hang on a second. You know, we never went off the air.
What do you mean? You were on the internet, right?
Well, Sports Talks, no. We've been on the air on all our other stations.
Just not in Columbia.
We just went on in Columbia for a little while. Came back on in Columbia in August when we joined The Point. But we were just off as far as our Columbia affiliate goes. Sports Talk was still going on 25 stations around the state.
Where is The Point? What is that?
Well, that's our Columbia station, 95.9 FM, 1470 AM.
Okay.
So you need to catch us there. Now, right now, they're only carrying our first hour because of contractual obligations. That will eventually change, but you can catch our first hour, 1470 AM, 95.9 FM. Kevin Cohen station. You remember Kevin Cohen?
Oh, yeah.
Well, Dave, I'm impressed with the defensive line. I've always said, in my opinion, right now in college football, the most difficult position to fill is defensive line. And I thought for need purposes, Clemson did an outstanding job with the defensive linemen, because defensive linemen will carry you a long way. Even if your offense is struggling, that defensive line, if it can disrupt the other team's offense, you got a chance.
Well, I've been so impressed with the offensive and the defensive line. They are really beefing up, and that's what wins football games.
You know what really strikes me? You know what really strikes me, Dave? You know, I planted myself at my computer at 6:45 this morning. So I was locked in from 6:45 till 2:45 when things were wrapped up, and I had to go to the news conference. But watching Clemson on ESPN and some of the other schools, I mean, Clemson really treats signing day, and a lot of other schools do as well, treat signing day like a festival. I mean, they do. They treat it like a big celebration, and they really hype it up, and they really play up their signees. You know, South Carolina takes a different approach. They're even with their good classes, you know, they didn't hype it. They were more low key. To me, it's a distinct dichotomy between the two football programs about how they approach signing day in particular.
Right. Well, I mean, if you're getting a bunch of 2 and 3 stars, you're probably not going to hype it up anyways. But anyways, with Clemson, the last big-time recruiting.
That wasn't my point.
The last big-time recruiting class that I can remember, I was there whenever not Larry Shyatt. Oh, Lord. What's the Wishbone, Arkansas coach that we
Ken
had?
Hatfield.
Destroyed our program.
Ken Hatfield.
Yeah, I think that was my freshman year at Clemson. And the only recruiting news you could get was called Blue Chips, I think. It was the magazine that came out once a year. But anyways, this is phenomenal. And what we've got started in 2016, I mean, these guys are really putting it together. And I hats off to Jeff Scott. I mean, that guy is the real deal. I mean, he's won everywhere he's been. He won a state championship in a program that didn't even have a program in his first year ever coaching.
Yeah.
What he can do.
He started the program at Blythewood, and did they win the state his very first year? I think he might have.
Yeah, they did. He did.
Of course, he had some talent now. He had Richard Mounts. He had the Jones kid that went to Clemson, the wide receiver. He had some talent in that program.
Well, it's good to hear you guys.
You too.
Yeah.
Put us on your favorites there on your speed dial, favorites in your car, so that you can go to the point and listen to Kevin, then listen to us, and chime in and let us hear from you. Love your comments.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, man. You too. Good hearing from you. All right. 800-956-7266. Always good to see. This is recruiting for us as well. It's signing day for Sports Talk. We just brought in a new listener to our class for 2015.
Wait a minute.
So
you mean resurrected a loyal listener?
Yeah, resurrected. He found us finally. He thought we were without jobs, I guess.
Really? Come on.
All right, the Citadel's class. Let's take a look at some of the local signees for the Bulldogs this time around, in-state guys that they signed. Kafari Buffalo. What a great name. Kafari Buffalo from Lakewood. He's a safety. He was a north-south guy. Brady Cormier, kicker from Beaufort's, who at one time was going to walk on at USC, but Citadel offered, and he took it. From Waccamaw, offensive lineman Tyler Davis. From Burns, defensive lineman Noah Dawkins. From 96, running back Rod Johnson, good-looking running back from the North-South game. Or was it the Shrine Bowl? Where did I see him? He was in one of the All-Star games. He was in Shrine Bowl. From Dorman, safety Aaron Spann. From Spring Valley, defensive lineman Jalon Williams. And we'll give you more in just a moment. All right, stick with us. Lorenzo Nunez, Tavian Feaster coming up in the next half hour here on Sports Talk. Give you some more recruiting. Back to the Citadel. As I was saying, defensive lineman Jalon Williams from Spring Valley and his brother, defensive end or linebacker Jordan Williams, both signed with the Citadel. And headed to the Citadel is Lorenzo Ward Jr., running back from Dreer, the son of the USC defensive coordinator. Now, Wofford, in-state signees. Oh, by the way, before I do that, let me go back to the Citadel. Out of state, let me see if they had a quarterback. Do they have a quarterback on their list here? I have to go through all the bios here. Let's see. They did have one guy with a very interesting name, Pro. Citadel signed a player, a defensive lineman from Hiram, Georgia. His name is Attorney Gallman. Attorney is his first name. I'm assuming that's
he's a what?
Attorney Gallman.
He's a quarterback?
Defensive lineman.
Oh, defensive lineman. Okay.
Their quarterback is from Vidalia, Georgia, Jordan Black. Lettered 4 times in football, 3 in basketball and baseball. So very good athlete, probably runs that option extremely well.
In this case, you called Attorney Gallman not to solve cases of accidents. You call him to create accidents in other teams' backfield.
All right, Wofford in-state recruits, place kicker Buddy Anderson from York. From Wilson, place kicker Luke Carter. So Wofford's taking a couple of place kickers here. Carter's also a punter. From Boiling Springs, receiver Jason Hill. From Blythewood, cornerback Dominique Lemon. From Christchurch, defensive lineman Thad Mangum. From St. Joseph's, offensive lineman Jacob Milam. From Lexington, offensive lineman Liam Roman. And that's it for their in-state haul. Any quarterbacks for the Terriers? Don't see one in this class. See several wide receivers. Good number of offensive linemen. I guess Coach Ayers did not need a quarterback in this class. South Carolina State, they signed in-state athlete Kalik Anthony from Hunter Connor Tyler, receiver Daquan Benjamin of Hartsville, defensive lineman Wendell Bing from C.A. Johnson, from Timberland, linebacker Janelle Brown, from Johnsonville, Shrine Bowl offensive lineman Shaquille Crouch. From Darlington, athlete Traquan DuBose, North-South game performer. And from Keenan, defensive back Kendrick Gathers. From West Florence, quarterback Marquane Goodman. From Flora, defensive lineman Terrell Goodwin. Now, he is good. He is a good-looking player. Saw him in the North-South game. He will plug the middle of the defensive line. From Emerald, defensive lineman Bruce Johnson. And from Batesburg, Leesville, another big-time prospect, Paul McIver, who was in the Shrine Bowl. Very good pickup there. Also from Fairfield Central, offensive lineman Malik Mackey. From Dutch Fork, defensive back Chris Harrods. More coming up. And welcome back in. Signing night here on Sports Talk. Coming up in a moment, Lorenzo Nunez, future Gamecock quarterback. Let me finish up with South Carolina State in-state signees. Defensive back Chris Parrott from Dutch Fork, part of the class. Linebacker Terrell Vaughn from Westwood. And from South Point, defensive back Devion Williams. Also, there's a little more here. Let's see. Got a long list. That's it from the in-state. A quarterback that State signed that they are very excited about named David Pendell from Columbia, Maryland. He originally was committed to Syracuse. As a senior, passed for about 2,500 yards, 23 touchdowns, rushed for about 1,000 yards, and 21 touchdowns. For his career, 4,600 passing yards, about 1,600 rushing yards, and a combined 69 touchdowns. So State's very excited about getting him in their class. Feel like he can be a potential star quarterback for them in the future. 6 feet 190. Speaking of potential star quarterbacks, let's welcome in to Sports Talk somebody we've had on before, way back when he committed, but today he put it on paper. Lorenzo Nunez headed to South Carolina, becoming a part of the Gamecocks recruiting class earlier today, and he joins us live here on Sports Talk. Lorenzo, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing fine, man. Congratulations on signing that letter of intent today. What was it like for you? You've been committed for so long, so there was never any drama around you, but what was it like to finally sit down and sign that letter of intent?
It was great. Just to finally know that it's over with. Past few years has been hectic with all the coaches contacting me, my parents, and my coaches at school. Signing papers is just like getting stuff off my back, and it was a great feeling.
Even though you were firmly committed to South Carolina, going back to last May, were you still having to deal with a lot of coaches and a lot of recruiting and people trying to turn you?
Just a few, like 2 or 3 schools try to turn me, but after I told them that I was strictly committed to South Carolina, then they pretty much stopped bothering me. But other than that, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. At any time, did you feel a little bit unsure, especially after the end of the season, and there was talk about Spurrier and his coaching future and all that? At any time, did you start to wonder about your commitment?
No, not at all. I did that before I committed because I wanted to make sure that wherever I committed to, I was going to stick to them throughout the whole process, and that's what I did with South Carolina. I talked to Coach Spurrier about him to sign and leave, but he signed a contract being there till I think 2018. Pretty sure that's what it was.
Yep.
So I'm glad he did that, and I'm glad he's staying with the program.
How much have you been in touch with Coach Spurrier and Coach Mangus over the past several months as far as things that they have told you to be working on and some ideas that they've given you as to help you get yourself ready to come into South Carolina? Did we lose him? Oh, okay. We lost the cell. We'll get him back on in just a moment. Talking with Lorenzo Nunez, 6'2", 190 from Kennesaw, Georgia. And he might get a little bit bigger. His dad is 6'5".
I think the last measurement I read was when he came down for the last visit was 6'3".
We'll get his official height and weight when we reconnect with him here in just a moment. Tell you what South Carolina says about him. Let's see. I think I've got let's see. I've got the bio here. What they have written about him in their release today. They list him at 6'2", 190. Also played some safety. Threw for 1,200 yards as a junior. Last year, 809 yards passing and about 1,200 yards rushing. We've got Lorenzo back with us. Sorry about that. Lost you with a bad cell, but glad we got you back with us. So what I was asking you, when the cell dropped, what sort of things have the coaches been telling you regarding what they want you to work on? And some various drills and things of that nature that they want you to prepare for coming into South Carolina?
Nothing in particular, really. just telling me how much they like me on my film, and will they see that I have potential and give me a spark in South Carolina, and how I'm a great player and stuff like that. But nothing in particular about my stature or I wish I worked on.
How do you feel you will fit in with their offense? From what you've seen, what is it that you do well that will work well in their offense?
I see a lot of things I can do with their offense. Pretty much everything, really. I know they didn't do with the read option last year. I know they didn't do that much with Thompson since he wasn't like a third quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
They did with Connor Shaw the year before that. I think they're going to bring that back to play if I beat out the guys that are there next year. I'm going to keep working hard and see what the coaches decide when I get there.
You know, how's it feel to be in your position? A lot of times, maybe most of the time, a hotshot freshman quarterback coming in realizes the job's taken, and it might be a year or two before he gets a real good shot. Really not the case at South Carolina. Job is wide open. I think Spurrier and Mangus have made that kind of clear going into spring, and you're going to have every opportunity, I would guess, when you come in this summer to show them what you can do and have a chance at the job. How does that feel to you?
It feels great having the opportunity to come in and start as a true freshman. Like you said, most kids don't get able to do it. They wait a year or two, their junior year or redshirt sophomore year to play. And I'm getting a chance to play in an SEC school my true freshman year. And I just have to keep working hard here before I get there. And when I get there, I have to keep working hard and show the coaches my ability I can play at that next level for South Carolina.
Well, when you've got everything working, do you have, or I should ask it this way, what are your favorite patterns you like to throw? What's the favorite pass, your bread and butter you like to go to?
Probably the smash combination. I know South Carolina runs a lot with Farrell Cooper and a few other guys when they have a corner from the inside and a hitch on the outside. Since if it's cover two, which is an easy pass for me, to put the ball on top of the corner. If he bites on the hitch and put it near the sideline so you can get it.
Is there any pattern that you feel like right now in your career you can't throw well, that you need to develop before you get to college, something that will be asked of a college quarterback?
Not really. I practice almost every throw that I would see in a SEC game, and I'm very confident I can throw any ball. They put me in any situation to throw in, and I practice a lot throughout the years. So,
do you feel ready to come in and learn this offense and be able to read defenses at this level at such a young age?
Most definitely. I know it's going to be hard. I know it's not easy learning defense, learning the scheme of defenses and reading defenses at that next level since I'm so young. I just turned 18. But as time goes on, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get used to it and do great things.
What do you think of this recruiting class you're part of?
I think it's good. I know we've had a lot of talk about people decommitting and stuff like that. There's no worries because we have a lot of guys coming in that didn't decommit. They're also good players on the offense and defensive side.
Yeah.
I'm great for them. But,
you guys in the Atlanta area, some of your buddies there from other Atlanta area schools, y'all get together and talk about the future and work out some together?
Yes, sir. We do. For our official visit, we talked about that a lot. Just guys coming up there and us getting to know each other better and seeing each other's faces, which is a great thing since we don't get to do that a lot. But I'm looking forward to seeing them more often when I go up there in 4 months.
Well, we congratulate you once again on signing with the Gamecocks. I know the Gamecock fans are excited to see you in Columbia, see what you can do, and see if you're going to have a good chance at stepping in and competing for the job. Best of luck the rest of the way, and we'll see you when you get to Columbia.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You got it, my man. Thank you. That's Lorenzo Nunez. Remember that name. He could be your starting quarterback in Charlotte against the Tar Heels. What do you think? Back in a moment.
No.
right, we go from one future star, Lorenzo Nunez, to another future star, Tavian Feaster, from Spartanburg High School. Now, he still has another year of high school ball, but he said, enough of this recruiting. I'm getting it done. And he committed today to the Clemson Tigers, one of 3 2016 commitments for Clemson today. And Tavian joins us here on Sports Talk. Good evening, Tavian. How are you?
I'm on wonderful.
How you feeling about getting your decision out in the open and out of the way?
It's a great feeling, It's, I enjoy my recruiting process, but Clemson is where I want to be.
How long ago did you know that?
Well, I've known 5 days now. I've known that was my top choice, but like I'm positively, sold on everything Clemson. 5 days ago, I told everybody I was ready, and I committed tonight.
Yeah. What was it on some of your visits there? I know that they offered you way back in 2013, and it really got the jump on everybody. How important was that in your thinking that they got in on you so quickly with an offer?
It was that they started it. They were my first offer. Since day one, they've been with me, and they recruited me hard and heavy. They made me a priority to get down to Clemson. And, I can thank the coaches even more, so I decided to join them at Clemson.
So you've been to games and you've seen them on television. You've watched that offense. How do you see yourself fitting in terms of your running style? What kind of former Clemson back would you compare yourself to? Are you a C.J. Spiller? Are you a James Davis? Are you more of a Rod McDowell? Is there somebody you compare yourself to?
I can give you a little bit of all 3 of those guys you just named. CJ is gonna kill you with his speed. Davis is gonna hurt you on the ground. He's a heavy runner. And elusiveness was for Roger McDowell. So I think I can give you all 3 aspects of those guys' games just by myself. And I think my hands are good enough where I can catch the ball in the open field and I can make plays for those guys.
Let me throw another one in there. Are you more like an Andre Ellington?
Andre Ellington? Oh yes, he caught the ball a very lot, and he had a tough time there at Clemson because he played with a whole bunch of superstar receivers. So and he was still catching the ball, he was still running the ball, putting up great numbers. And I think I would go in there and do the same thing. We got a lot of highly talented receivers.
Why do you catch the ball so much out of the backfield? I know you have good hands, but in y'all's offense, why is it that they want to get you so involved in the passing game?
Because I can just name plays. They put the ball in the playmaker's hands, which I think I can make a play every time I touch the ball. And of course, we want to win games, so you got to feed your most dominant players on the field. So I think that's a big reason why they get me involved in a lot of passing games.
Talking with Tavian Feaster, who committed today to Clemson. What about this class that they just signed and now the class that you're a part of? What do you think about what they're doing recruiting-wise?
They're doing an excellent job selling their schools, selling their program. And, they have proof of everything they're talking about. But one thing is they got guys who are working and they're young. The quarterback is young, the receiver's young. They brought in a lot of great recruits 2015, and we're getting a lot of guys 2016 in this class. It's going to be great down there.
When you get there year after next, 2016, it could be a little bit of a crowded backfield. Will there be room for Tavian Feaster to work his way in and get some carries there in 2016?
I'm the only back. They didn't sign the 2015 back, and they won't sign another 2016 back. They just got those young backs they had in 2014, and I believe I can go in and compete for the spot right away. If I don't get it right away, I know I'm gonna get some carries. I know my playmaking ability. They can't keep me down, they can't keep me off the field. I know I can go in there and I can play maybe on kick return, punt return, something like that. Even if I don't start the game off, I believe I can get on the field immediately.
Well, anybody who's seen you play will not argue with that. You're going to get your carries and you're going to get your playing time. Congratulations again. Have a great spring practice. Stay healthy. Want to see you and Spartan I have another big year coming up, and look forward to seeing you with the Tigers down the road.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Tavian Feaster. I love that kind of talk now. I mean, this, he believes in himself. He believes in his skills, and he believes he's going to go in there when time comes and get his shot.
He's got 2 of the 3 down pat. He can catch the football out of the backfield. He can run. But, in high school, the interesting thing is they don't ask the guys because they have the ball so much to block. I think if he gets the blocking down, they won't be able to keep him out of the lineup.
All right, let's wrap up our classes here. In-state signees, North Greenville, Matthew Thomas, defensive back from Florence, tight end Bobby Foose from Chesney. I think he was a north-south guy. Let's see here. From Ware Shoals, punter place kicker Jeremy Hart. And from Lexington, offensive lineman Whit Warner. Limestone, they only signed 51 players at Limestone. In-state, they signed, let's see here. In-state, they signed a lot of out-of-state guys. In-state, from St. John's, linebacker Tawan Green. From Goose Creek, tight end Akeem Gadsden. From Keenan, wide receiver Kia Baker. From Berkeley, 3 players. Defensive end Peyton Thompson, defensive tackle Chris Mathis, and cornerback DJ Witherspoon. 2 players from Ridgeland Hardyville, receiver Gavin Bush, offensive lineman Ashley Mitchell. From Easley, linebacker Dalton Hughes. South Florence, cornerback Malik Burgess. Newberry, safety KJ Fields. Belton Honeypath, safety Jaquias Callahan. Westwood, receiver Tyrell Gallman. 2 from Easley, linebacker Najir Cleaves and tight end Elijah Lowe. Batesburg Leesville, receiver Dontavius Morris. Lower Richland, tight end Lateef Robinson. From Lower Richland, safety Stefan Gradine. Also from Lower Richland, cornerback Rio Robinson. From South Aiken, receiver Chance Holbrooks. From Loris, running back Levi Moody. From Orangeburg Wilkinson, running back Reggie Davenport. And receiver Tyrone Gibson. From Chapin, offensive lineman Austin Jeffords. Fort Dorchester, center Cody Marie. Travelers Rest, receiver Andrew Russell. Spring Valley, fullback Blair Johnson. Ashley Ridge, receiver Matthew Linton. Camden, tight end Chase Truesdale. Broome, linebacker Bavier Jackson. Ashley Ridge, offensive lineman Kenny Glover. Riverside, offensive lineman Daniel Von Waldner. And from Emerald, cornerback Justin Watson.
Wow. By the way, there is a couple of basketball games on tonight. Clemson at Florida State. And in Big South action, Winthrop 27, Liberty 12. Remember, Winthrop starts tonight in a 4-way tie for third place in the Big South.
Real quick, Syracuse, self-imposed sanctions out of the tournament.
Out of the tournament for sanctions committed almost a decade ago. We don't know what those sanctions are, but they said the investigation started about 2006. Infractions.
Yeah.
2006, 2007.
But they self-imposed this penalty.
That is correct.
So they are out.
Stickman is yelling in my ear.
Carmelo.
Out of the NIT, NCAA, and ACC tournament.
Wow. Okay. We exhale. We come back tomorrow.
2016.
2016. We're already into 2016. What do you mean we start 2016? We're already knee deep into it. Thank you, State Man Pro. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.